Welcome back to Dark Corner's Horror Smackdown, semi-finals. We're always saying that in movie making, story is what matters. So for the semi-finals, we're delving into the stories of our final four. Match 62, The Thing versus Alien. In storytelling terms, The Thing does things differently. Most films of this type keep the monster under wraps, gradually revealing bits and pieces, picking at the audience's nerves until they are desperate to see the killer, so the final reveal is a huge catharsis. In The Thing, however, this is less than a third into the movie. Surely they've blown it. By giving everything away this early, Carpenter's left himself nowhere to go. But it works for two reasons. Firstly, if you think John Carpenter has left himself nowhere to go, you don't know John Carpenter. Secondly, despite its title, despite the fact that The Thing is legitimately celebrated for Rob Bottin's extraordinary effects, it's not about the thing. It's about the people.
You asshole.
And they have somewhere to go.
I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking couch!
Most films about a rampaging monster or killer take control away from the leads, putting them on a roller coaster ride they cannot control. But look at The Thing. The central characters are making all the decisions. The creature is the one on the back foot, purely reacting to what MacReady and co. throw at it. It just happens to be very good at reacting. Reacting to its situation is what this thing does. Pushing the characters to do things they would never have dreamed themselves to be capable of. Most horror films take characters from calm to chaos. The Thing is more like a war film. The characters are already tense and terse with each other.
Look, I haven't been able to reach shit in 2 weeks. I doubt if anybody's talked to anybody on this entire continent, and you want me to reach somebody.
Now Carpenter and screenwriter Bill Lancaster pit them against each other with ever-escalating mistrust, turning that initial antipathy into fear and hatred.
You guys gonna listen to Gary? You gonna let him give the orders? I mean, he could be one of those things!
There is no settling in time in The Thing. The inciting event of the dog's arrival is the first scene, and there is never a moment when the characters are not on edge and uncertain of who to trust, and never a moment when we are not there with them. Right to the end.
Did you kill it? Where were you, Charles?
Alternative endings were written and even shot, but the filmmakers stuck to their guns and delivered a final scene that is a hammer blow. Even now, we still don't know who to trust.
If we've got any surprises for each other, I don't think we're in much shape to do anything about it.
By conventional wisdom, from first to last, the story of The Thing does everything wrong. Perhaps that's why it works, because it uses our knowledge of genre convention against us. With the possible exception of the chestburster scene, there is nothing original in Alien. This is a story that has graced a dozen different B-movies, from The Navy versus the Night Monsters to Destination Inner Space. And yet, without exception, these films are rubbish, while Alien is a masterpiece. Much of this can be credited to Ridley Scott, but what really saves Alien is that writers Dan O'Bannon and Ron Shusett saw how terrifying the story could be. They saw it as a ghost story in space, but more importantly, they understood what that meant. What makes a ghost story scary is not the dead haunting the living. It's that feeling of leaving for work in the morning, looking back at your house and seeing a stranger in the window. Home is where we feel safe. The ghost undermines that. Alien goes out of its way to establish that the characters have been on the Nostromo for a long time. The ship is lived in. It is a home. They've even got a cat. They know every inch of this ship, and yet a huge portion of the film is spent searching for the facehugger, for the chestburster, and finally for the alien itself. This thing is more at home in their home than they are. It has made their space its own. Nothing undermines our personal security like that feeling. It doesn't matter that we barely see the alien. We know it's there. That undermining of security is further played upon by the ways in which the characters die. Kane, killed by something attacking from within. Brett, killed while looking for the cat. Then we lose Dallas, a character we expected to make it at least to the final reel. Dallas has authority. His decisions had a solidity to them. His death strips away another layer of security. Ash has been the wise character throughout, a scientist and yet human enough to ignore regulations and let the stricken Kane back into the ship.
In the hatch open.
But not only is he killed, it turns out he could never be trusted.
You have my sympathies.
This leaves Ripley with people who have shown hostility to her throughout, which is still better than being alone. It's a while before you even notice that Ripley is the lead, but when you go back to the film, you can see that it's always been her story.
Wait a minute. If we let it in, the ship could be infected. You know the quarantine procedure.
Her home being invaded, her securities being stripped away one by one. Alien may be a B-movie done brilliantly. It may be a ghost story in space. But most of all, it's about a person at their most vulnerable. And that's something everyone can relate to. How does character, structure and plot breeze? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to vote for the film you want to see in the Horror Smackdown final.